Hey, Dori.
Hello.
We are finally here. We've been wanting to talk for a little bit. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. It's really hot in Hungary right now, so if I'm sweating, that's the reason.
That's why. Yeah, you've got the window open, you got the breeze
Yeah,
flowing.
yeah. I have like a fan, so if my hair goes like this,
Okay,
like a
I
mom,
gotcha.
that's the reason.
Yeah, so you're in Hungary. Is this where you're from? Give
Yeah.
us the quick background. Give us the 30-second background of where you're at, where you're going to be at. Tell us everything.
Yes. So I am from Hungary originally. I grew up here, and I just graduated from undergrad from NYU Abu Dhabi, and I am going to Yale MFA acting. David Geffen School. Right? Yeah. Drama.
Very good, very good. Oh my gosh, so exciting. You probably told some people, how's it felt to tell people?
um, I mean, it's pretty crazy actually. It's pretty big here, I think, at home because there were not many Hungarians going to MFA programs in the States in general. And actually, I don't know about any Hungarians going to this particular program. So everyone has been very, very giving me a lot of pride and just like a lot of space to be grateful about this opportunity. And yeah, it's
That is
been great.
amazing. That is amazing. All right, well, very cool. I can't wait to hear about everything. Obviously, I know about what we worked on together. You brought in your pieces to get coaching from us. We had a blast. You've always had this really great mindset as an artist. You clearly are. I never will forget when you first started working and you showed us your work for the first time. Like your level of concentration is very high.
Yeah.
When you are allowed to, when you're given the opportunity to play, all of a sudden like something clicks and like you're in another world. Like your imagination is very strong and you are excited to jump into that other world. So it almost felt like freeing to you, well, from my experience, to be able to perform your work. How did it feel? Am I on with that or am I off base?
um, yeah, I mean, I think I want to approach um, this question by saying um, how important for me it was to show these pieces to not just one person, to just not just one have one coach who I can really get comfortable with, and then I sort of start allowing myself to play with or get to places where I can get when I feel comfortable. So at the point that where I met you, I showed my pieces to quite a few people, um, classmates, professors, other professionals in this field, and I think it was really difficult for me. I did this because it was so difficult for me to let go of the fact that I wanna show or like I wanna present these pieces that I'm working on. Like I always felt like the first time, like the first time I called you and like, okay, like this is it and this is how it's going to feel when I'm going to walk into the room and show these pieces, like the presentation. And so I think that's why it was so important to me. And I don't know if I succeeded on this journey. I was definitely in the middle of it when I was with you, but I just constantly wanted to remind myself that like I want to get as just like easygoing with doing these pieces to as many faces as possible. So I definitely did feel like, oh my goodness, like I've been watching their videos for so long, and then now I'm going to ask for his help, and then what is he going to think? Like, all these questions. And so
Well,
that was in my head while I was doing it, to be honest. But yeah, I just wanted to say that like that was very important to my approach in general, if that makes
yes,
sense.
I think that's really smart and definitely something that we obviously support. You
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
have
you do have a lot of people.
FaceTime with different coaches, different voices on your work is what I did, and that's why we have different coaches and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I definitely think that's really smart. Also, like you said, it also just kind of allows you to feel the feeling of like, I still got to share the high quality work. I still got to do
Mm,
good, even if I don't
mm,
know who's on the other side of that table. I don't
mm.
know them, whatever. Like, so the more I can get used to, like you said, just the easy goingness of sharing myself, whoever's in the room, that's the nature of these auditions. So good job. Now you have a you have a psychology degree too. Am
Yeah,
I correct?
yeah.
So
Yeah, I studied psychology and film and a bit of theater here and there. That was always part of it. Um, but I knew I wanted to do I wanted to do a rigorous training in acting, and that wasn't something that was available at my school. So we had like a year, not a year, a semester abroad at Tisch. So that's where I had like a little bit of training experience, and I got a little taste of what it's like to do acting from 9 to 5. No, but just like every day with a group of people, and that was lovely. And I knew I knew that I have to do a training, definitely.
yeah, now you're in for it for 3 years.
Yeah, thankfully.
Before I dive in, because I'm really curious and I want to get your thoughts on a lot of the specifics, what
Mm.
monologues you did and kind of the working of the journey. But before that, like, has it sunk in yet? Are you like, how do you, are you still feeling super excited for the 3 years? Are you finding your housing? Like, are all the
Mm.
logistics coming up now?
Yeah, definitely. I just it's been a really long year for a senior in undergrad doing their capstone, which is your final work and thesis, and then applying for like going in for the biggest journey of my life, honestly. And it's been a lot. And then later on, I mean, I was waitlisted. I want to talk about this later on as well, but like it was a long time waiting, a longer process than for a lot of people, and like that was the most draining process to sort of face the option of rejection, or like not really option, but like the possibility. And so obviously I was very much leaning towards that reality for a long time, and so that was the most, I think, just draining part out of it all. And I feel like that's where
Yeah.
I got really tired, because when you go in, you do the work, you see the people, you get to do it, like, yeah, it's tiring, but then you get sort of rewarded just by the fact of doing it, and then and being able to do it, and then when you get the email of like, yeah, we're not sure, then you're kind of like, ah. And so that was really, really, really long. And
I mean, we can dive into the waitlist experience right now. We
yeah,
can jump
yeah,
all
yeah,
over
yeah,
the place.
actually, why not?
Let's hear about it, and then yeah, we can talk more about it maybe some other time. But like, you got waitlisted. I remember it
Mm,
was a long time. You know,
mm,
it was an
mm,
emotional roller coaster. You were texting me and we were talking. I was like feeling like, oh, you did so good. And waitlisted is technically an acceptance,
mm.
but just they don't have a spot for you at this time. And so it kind of depends on if a spot opens up, but it's not a rejection.
Yeah.
It is an acceptance. And what I mean by that specifically is some of these schools only allow you to audition a certain amount of times.
Mm,
Well, if you get waitlisted, it's not a rejection. I mean, you can audition as many times as you
mm,
want, as long as you
mm,
were waitlisted. So
mm.
anyway, yeah, it kind of is a weird feeling probably to feel like you got accepted, but there's not a spot, and we don't know if there's gonna be one. What was that like, and how long did that go on?
Yeah, it went on for quite a long time. Like I remember I did my final round. We're gonna go like backwards in the story, but I'm already done with the final rounds. I will talk about it. But yeah, and then I got off the plane because I flew back to Abu Dhabi, and then everyone was just like texting in the group like, "Did you guys get it? Like we all got it. Like did you get it?" And I did not receive anything. And but then also people got rejection as well.
Right.
So I was also like, oh, so it's not only acceptance, it's also rejection. But I kind of assumed it was. But then someone texted me later like, oh yeah, I also didn't get anything. But then that person 2 days later got a rejection. I was like, oh, okay, then it is like they must be thinking about it, but I don't think it's waitlist. They would have let me know. But then it was a waitlist. They called it an alternative status or something like this. And I was like, okay, it's waitlist. And my family was visiting me, so I could not open the email for 3 days. I was like, they're here. Let us have a nice time. I know I'm just going to be heartbroken, and I received it, and then they said, I think end of March or something like this, or no, for beginning of March. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't remember anymore. But they set a date, and the point is that I didn't receive anything on that date that they set, and I was like, what's going on? Like, should I ask? Like, obviously they would let me know, so I don't want to be like. It was just the awful overthinking
Oh,
phase, and I was like, what do I do? And then they, and then I think you texted me, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm waiting. And then you were so positive. You were like, no, it's like basically an acceptance. And honestly, I started telling myself like, yeah, I got in. And then literally someone asked me, like, oh, what are you gonna do after school? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to Yale. I didn't get it. And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to Yale. Like,
just said
yeah.
that like
And then
having not
literally
necessarily
right after, yeah, I was just like, it was a random person. Anyways, we were just
amazing.
in an elevator, and it was like, oh, like you're graduating. What are you gonna do? And I was like, yep, yeah, I'm going to Yale. And then Jamila texted me like literally that day, saying like, we still are figuring out the group. Do you have any other deadlines? And then I think texted you, and then you were like be very sure that you say like this is your first option, and that's what I said. And then like a few days after, I got a Zoom link, and then she welcomed me into the class,
Oh
which
my
was
gosh. All
great.
right, pause there. We will get to that point
Yeah,
at
we
the
will get to there. Now it's a
because
very unique narrative.
yes, yes, I love it. I love it. To reflect the uniqueness of Dori. Uh, all right, so let's go back now to the beginning.
Yeah.
So choosing your monologues. You
Mm,
had some experience, right? You had some film degree, psychology degree,
mm,
maybe theater experience.
mm.
Um, how did you go about finding monologues? Where did you search? How did you determine these were your pieces? How long did it take you to find them?
Yeah. I will not try to make this sound. It was an easy process. It was not an easy process. It took me actually years I mean, not like I was not actively looking for these pieces for this audition, but I was basically using materials that I met a few years ago. Um, and I don't know, for me it was not very helpful to just get a play in my hand and just look for a big chunk and then try to read it out loud. So many people were like, oh yeah, you just read the first line and then it just tastes good in your mouth, and I never experienced that. I was like, that's just one experience, nothing tastes good. I don't know, like that didn't work for me. And I had to see the play. I had to like see the monologue in its own context, and I had to see it performed, to be honest, to be able to connect with it, which I don't blame myself for, because it's a art to be performed, not necessarily to be read. So I found all the pieces from different workshops that I heard just like someone bringing in, um, and yeah, I think I found all my monologues this way, just like through the years I was collecting them. And then there was one piece, my one classical Juliet, that was my first ever classical that I worked on, and I worked on that piece so much, like literally every workshop that I went to, and I had to bring a text, like that was the text. So that was a lot of people working on that piece with me, um, which I honestly found very useful, because there were just so many ways in which I could imagine that piece, because I was sort of growing with that piece. Like that was the first piece that I really did from Shakespeare, really. And then I could see it always growing the ways in which I was, I guess, improving in a way. And so to this day, I am so confused about that piece. Like, I don't know if there's like a way. I like that piece is just like, I don't know. I just go into it and then I do it, and I have no idea. Like,
Did you end up doing that for Yale?
I did
Okay.
because
'Cause I know you prepared multiple Shakespeare pieces, but yeah, we had that conversation.
yeah, they really liked that. Like, that was a piece that they really asked for in callbacks. I don't know if they liked it, but they just asked for it. So that was one piece, and then I did the other one was Hermione. I also heard that someone performing it in a workshop, and I really liked how they were working on it. But I don't. That piece was a bit of a challenge to me, to be honest. I love the piece. I really really do. Uh, but I think here I'm gonna get a little bit into the conversation about choosing the piece that sort of that compliments you, or like
Yeah, tell
shows
us
you.
about the what is it that was different for you, and yeah, what wisdom do you have to share about that?
It just didn't really come as natural to me. I think. I mean, I just felt like I had to reach a lot more. And then you pointed out as well to me this is it was very helpful that you helped me realize that, because that's I like I just felt so much more comfortable with my other pieces that I didn't feel like, oh, I have to do this for 10 minutes before I go into the room, and then just like really, because that's just, of course you can do that, and that's also very respectable, but just it's so much easier. The whole nerve and the anxiety that's gonna get into, just so much easier to go into the room and be able to just tell yourself, like, I'm just gonna be myself, and this is it. But with this piece, I didn't feel it as much, to be honest. Like, it was, no, here I'm going to do this piece, and I'm going to be acting, and I don't know, like, it was just
Yeah,
not
some of those
as
pieces,
much as Drew. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You know.
of course, I witnessed it. No, there's it's natural for a lot of us. We respond to material, but it feels like maybe a lot of effort. And then
Yeah,
you
that's how
find
it felt.
yourself feeling like I can't find my footing here. I feel like I'm always having excess tension or excess uh I'm trying to, yeah, it's not really in me yet. And
Mm,
some other material, and by the way, you can still respond to that material as a reader or as a observer, but when
mm.
you try to put it into your own body, it can be a different experience, and you have to be sensitive to that experience.
Yeah.
Uh, and kudos to you though, like you still did your best, you still brought it in, and you still wanted to put it out there because there might be something that unlocks it for you.
Mm,
But ultimately it was like, Juliet just feels more at home, and uh
yeah.
Hermione, it feels like it's tough, and you don't want it to feel like it's tough. You want it
Yeah,
to,
exactly.
you're still able to achieve the drama and the sort of stakes and the nuances, but it feels like you said, just be me, and
Yeah.
just trust myself. And you were
Yeah.
able to do that beautifully with Juliet and your other
Yeah.
pieces, your modern pieces. So were those just your two classical pieces?
Yeah. That was the only two. I didn't even, yeah, I didn't even work on
For everybody
anything else.
listening, Shakespeare verse, both of those pieces are written in Shakespeare, are verse pieces in Shakespeare, which is what we
Oh,
recommend. So
okay. Yes.
good.
um,
What about your
and
contemporary?
and then my contemporary was that was also a very very conflicting decision, to be honest. I'm going to start with the one that I really 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 love, which is a long piece. It's a Martin Krimp piece from the country, and I just love that piece. I love it so much. Like, that was the piece that I first performed, and I just sort of enjoyed acting. If that makes any sense. Like, so I had such a positive and like rewardful experience with that piece, just like in my internal way. And so I really, really liked it. But I also worked on that piece a lot, and I started losing my excitement for it. And so I was showing it to a few people, as I said, like I showed my pieces, and some people were like, oh, that doesn't seem that very exciting to you anymore. It's just, and I felt it, but I couldn't let it go, and I just really couldn't let it go. And then, you know, people like you pointed it out, like that means something, and you have to listen to that. If there is something that you just can't let go of, and you keep thinking about it, then that might be the piece. And it was long, so that's all. Long meaning like 4 or 5 minutes, 6 maybe, if I get into it. But then we cut it, we worked on it, like then it got up to like 3 or 4 minutes still. But then you also reminded me that, like, if you enjoy it, they will also enjoy it, and it's like, it's not gonna be the end of the world that
I
I
think
don't
probably,
need
yeah,
to.
I probably said, like, it is something to
Or you were
take.
just trying to be nice.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
I was being very honest with you. Like, listen, if I'm a school and someone's going over the time limit, most cases I'm not super excited about that
Mm,
unless it's outstanding work.
mm,
If it's just outstanding work, then yeah, it's what are we doing here? We're looking for people with high artistic potential. So like it wasn't egregious. It was a little over time, even after you cut it. But I knew your work was outstanding and you went in there and gave it.
and that was actually another piece that was actually the no, I performed 3 pieces, but these were the only ones that they gave direction to, and they asked on callbacks.
You're talking
Like,
about the country and Juliet.
and Julia, yeah, I guess you're right.
All right. Well, let's talk about that. So,
My last
oh
piece
yes.
before, just, but we will talk about that. Just before I forget it, I literally forgot the title, and I had to look it up before this. It was the I'm sorry. So it's Blank by Alice Birch, and it's like a monologue, not monologue, like dialogue collection. So it's not really a play, and there are no characters. It's like A B. And then there was a piece, like the whole piece was this monologue actually, um, and there was a lot of fun to play with. I also saw this, and yeah, but again, I wasn't as excited about it as the other one. Yeah,
So you definitely did the country and Juliet for
yeah.
Yale, right? And did they ever ask you for a third piece or did they just work on those pieces?
Wait, no, actually, actually, I was going to do that, and then I literally wrote down these pieces, and then I saw, like, oh, you can do two contemporary. You don't have to do one classical and one contemporary for the first round. And then I was like, I don't feel like Shakespeare. I can just do two contemporary. I'm just gonna do two contemporary. And so I did. And I started with the later one that I was talking about, the Alice Birch one, and it was fine. Like, I did it, and then I did my other piece, and I feel like she just forgot about me. She was like, "Okay, you did that," but then there was a good warm up. No, I don't know, but the fact that she only gave direction to the other piece, and then, like, I think that I don't know what was going on in my panelist head, but she was like, do you have another piece? And then I said the two, and then she was like, "Oh, I really saw excitement when you said Juliet. I think you should do Juliet." And then I did that, and she really seemed to like it because we worked on it quite a lot. And then these were the two pieces that I was brought back to the room with.
Gotcha. Yeah, the second room. Okay, cool. So it sounds like your first initial audition was pretty quick. It was just two pieces. They asked for the third piece, and then they
Mm,
say, "All right, thanks." Was that pretty much
yeah,
the end of it?
basically, yeah, we worked a little bit on it. I also started over a piece, the Juliet one, and she really appreciated it. And I don't want to mention this because some people might think, like I used to think, like, wow, whoa, like if I was ever there, like that's just bad. But no, I think I want to emphasize, and a lot of very wise people from my journey was recommending this, like, no, you have to use this room as your playground, like it's a rehearsal, and you have to think of it as a rehearsal. And so um, I just I just asked, like, can I start it over? And then she said, please. And you know what? Do this too. And then it was a class suddenly, And I think she appreciated that. I don't know. I'm just assuming here, but I certainly felt a lot better when the tone got to be like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna start it over. And suddenly I was in a coaching session.
Well, it's never something that you would want to pre-plan, of course.
No,
You
no, no,
yeah, that's not what Dori is saying, everyone. Uh,
no, 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 no.
you didn't say that. I'm just saying, just to be clear for the record, you always want to
Yeah.
be as prepared as possible and be ready to rock it out.
Yeah, I didn't feel like the energy was there where I wanted it to be. I didn't feel like I give myself the most specific thing to play with, and I just blanked, and I was like, I'm not in the moment anymore, and I could carry on, or I can just think of this as like a rehearsal, and I could just start it over. So I
Amazing.
did.
Beautifully. Well said. Okay, so now you're in the second room. Did you have to get a callback to go to that second room, or did they just kind of say, like, did they
No, I
post
did.
names?
I did have to. So yeah, I then went back into the group, waiting. No hope. No hope. Just sitting there, obviously, like,
No hope.
yeah, no,
Afterwards, you're
no.
like, no hope. That's
Of course, why would you hope? Like, there's so many people in that room, and then everyone went up to the list, and I just, very cliche, I just kind of wanted to be the last person, like, and then I just heard people coming back, like, one name, and I was like, and I went up, and it was me.
oh my goodness.
I of course have a picture of that because I don't think I will ever see something like this in my life. I broke down in tears, like, in front of that, and then they're like, "What are you doing? You have to go back to the room," and like immediately. And so I went back,
Oh,
and they're like, "Why
immediately.
are you crying?" I was like, "It's fine." And then I just went back to the piece, and then they asked for the Juliet, and then the country piece. Um,
The callback was actually super quick, pretty
there was
seemingly pretty
everything.
quick.
They didn't even give me any notes because, and I forgot to say, I mean, I did say that I got some notes in the first round. So I just took those notes in the second round as well. I was very intentional about it. And so I think she did say something like, like, we had some notes, but take it or leave it, or something like this. But I took it. and
Oh,
and
you
and then,
should. And, we should pause there just about that because we all get
yeah,
notes in these callbacks and these. If you get notes that you feel like help the piece,
yeah, yeah,
why
yeah,
wouldn't you just keep, you're in the journey of this piece and working on this piece.
yeah,
If in a callback or in an audition, you feel like you got some really valuable feedback, go ahead and incorporate that into, why wouldn't you?
yeah.
So you're definitely good
No,
instincts in that.
exactly. No, exactly. And especially that, like, I think my biggest challenge bringing in old pieces that I've been working on for so long was to always try to find something new, like to play with something new. And I remember I kept telling you, like, just no, like, I don't want to go into Julia, just tell me something, like, just prep me, like, say something, and I can just go. So I was hanging on to her words, saying these comments to me, and I obviously, like, I had no choice. No, no, no. But like, I really wanted to play with. I was excited to play with something new. Yeah.
Very
Uh,
cool. So that was the second room.
that was
Was
the
there
second
any
one.
expectation for the rest of that day?
And I was very anxious because they told us that we have to sing. And honestly, they told us we had to sing before we saw the names. And I kind of was like, it's kind of a win-win because if I don't go in, I don't have to sing. But then, okay, so no, just kidding. Obviously, I really, really wanted to go, but it was, yeah, then I had to sing. And
What did you
and yeah,
sing?
I did sing, and it was long. They kind of stopped me, and then the the bridge was gonna come, which was very powerful. So I just decided to go on, and I was like, no, 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 it's more. And then they were like, yeah, yeah, we understand, it's fine. And then they were laughing, and they were just like, sit down, just sit down, so sit down.
That sounds
Uh,
a lot like mine, where it was you're super committed, but you know you're not like the best singer, and they're like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
"Thank you so much. All right, let's have a
Yeah,
seat."
yeah, but I went on because I was like, no, you have to be like, and especially it was in Hungarian, so they were like not even engaged like in the lyrics. They're like, oh, I felt like they were trying to be really nice, like, oh wow, she's showing something from her culture. Oh, that's really nice. But yeah,
Wait, so you chose a song that was in Hungarian, and did you have any other option, or was this the only
I
thing
had
you
a lot of options. I sang for you too, remember? And I don't know if you remember. It's good that you don't. Honestly, it's good. It's
Which
good.
one would you sing for me?
I think I showed you I don't remember because I had a few. And then you just told me sing in English. But then obviously I got I don't even I was like I made a decision that I don't even remember making. So like I was already singing in Hungarian.
You trusted your instincts, which is ultimately what you have to do. So,
Yeah, I
so
guess
you
so.
sang in Hungarian, but you prepared. I just wanted for the audience
Yeah. No, I did prepare
because
quite
there
a
are
few songs.
people. Yeah, and
Yeah.
tell us really quickly, just because we don't talk too much about songs, like
Yeah.
what was your thinking when you chose songs to prepare? Like what were you looking for? What do you care about when you were choosing songs?
Honestly, first, I really, really wanted to choose something in Hungarian because I just thought it would be something that I could connect to linguistically in a way that I can't do in my other pieces, and I can show that. Um, but then obviously that has the disadvantage of like they can't, and if you're not a particularly astonishing singer, then there's really not much to hang on to as an audience.
You're like, no, we're gonna keep going.
But there's the bridge coming, and then but I enjoyed that song. I think it's a beautiful song. I wish they understood. I literally was thinking like, should I print the lyrics? Like it's such a beautiful song. But no, I didn't. Obviously, I didn't do those things. But yeah, I just really wanted to work with images. And just to see those in front of me, and just to really use that as an opportunity to unlock something, because it is very emotional, at least for me. But I think it's just how songs work in general, so you can connect them in a very different emotional level. So yeah, I think that was like the things that I was concentrating on. No like voice classes, nothing like that. No.
So, that end of day callback where you're asked to sing, was it any monologue work or was it just singing and
No,
interviewing?
singing and interview. Yeah, and interview. That's
And how
it.
did that
And
go for you? How did you
eating a
feel
little
about
bit.
that?
Huh?
Say that one more time. What are they?
And a little bit of eating. They offered us some fruits, and that was nice.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry.
so yeah, how did it feel? How did it go? The interview.
The interview. Yeah. Um, I obviously I was very nervous in the beginning because I just didn't know really what to expect, and it was just like, honestly, this one thing about Yale is that they do this at most schools, but they did this like warm up with the group, but it just felt so right to me, like what they were saying. They were so humorous, but in not in a, I don't even know, like pretentious way. It was just so truthful to me. Like their energy was really sort of matching mine. It was really calming me down, the ways in which they were talking to the group, and everything just felt so from the heart. Um, I really felt it, to be honest, and so that was something that I met again at the interview. Like this is the energy that they welcomed me with, if that makes any sense right now.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about, and like they said, of course, like in this interview, we just want to talk to you. We don't want to talk to an applicant and just like hearing all these amazing reasons that you wrote down in your essay, but just to meet you. And in the beginning, it was obviously very difficult to let go of like, oh, these are the reasons why I would love to come to this school. That was in my head. Um, but then they made this interview so much about a conversation that really, really, it was such a nice conversation. And I said this at the end, actually. I Before I went, I just thanked them, like, I at first I had a very hard time opening up and just being myself in this interview, and I really appreciate that we got there together, and then I thank them because I never had an interview like this before. I was always very like, oh yeah, and I thanks, and then I left them, and so it was very, very nice. Yeah, and yeah, I guess I was proud that I was honest about it, like
Yeah.
that I was reflecting on, because it is also like, I don't know. I don't know anything about what will be in this 3 years, but I think I will think about what the audition process is part of the training. Like, so I was already thinking about it like that. Like I was reflecting on it, like, oh, I felt like this. And I try to think, because maybe this is the only thing that I will have from this school. Like maybe I don't continue on my, like maybe I don't
Yeah.
get back, and like I can still learn from it.
100%. And that's always the common thread amongst people who get into these programs, and
Mm,
honestly, people who even don't get into these programs. You really feel like at a certain point you shared you.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's very natural and totally human to have the sort of, I'm an applicant and I'm gonna
Yeah.
do great today. Like, why wouldn't we obviously
Mm,
want to show ourselves in the best possible light?
mm,
But somehow the schools have a way, these are sophisticated artistic individuals who are watching you and working with you. They have a way of helping you get to an even more three-dimensional place.
mm,
And if you're resistant to that, you might not end up making it through those rounds. But if you're open to that, and if you're willing to share you, yeah, it's a fun experience for both. And
mm.
you can't predict it or force it or whatever. You just have to prepare your work at the highest possible level and just
Yeah,
be prepared to
yeah.
give the gift, whatever way that looks and whatever way that flows, right?
I agree. Beautiful said. Yeah.
Yeah. So you leave, you're back to, well, you were studying at NYU in
And
Abu Dhabi.
yeah,
And so you go back to Abu Dhabi. How was the
very
plane ride?
long. 16 hours. I never had 16 hours continuously. So that to me was long. And then I had classes, and it was nice in a way that I had a role there, like I'm a student still. Like it wasn't just like time to sit and think about what but of course I'm not going to say like, yes, every night I did think about the interview, and I did think about what I should have said, or I just smile at some things that I said and I completely feel embarrassed about. And I was just like, but
You
most of the
remember
time I
one thing?
was going
Can you share one of those?
one of those, but for example, going with the song, or of this, i don't even I don't even know why I said this. They were like, oh, so what's your superpower? And immediately I said, oh, I can sleep anywhere. And then I was like, why am I saying this? And then, and then it was like, and then they were really laughing, and I was like, but it's kind of a nice thing, because you get to be really energized when you want to, because you can get to power nap, and then like, but it's very dangerous on the subway because you have to sit in the locker, which I also have to. So it was really, I kind of was like thinking as I was saying, like, why am I saying this? But I think that kind of broke an ice in a way, in an
Yeah, yeah,
interview,
yeah. It was
and
truthful.
then
It was, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I don't think that's the kind of, honestly, I'm so glad that they asked it this way, if they really wanted to see who I am, because they could have been like, so what are your strengths? And then I don't think I would have said it this way. So it was also like I say, like the ways in which they were conducting this interview was so playful. It was
Yeah.
so playful. So
Well, part
maybe
of
that's why, but it was pretty much out. Yeah. It was pretty still like, why do I say this? But yeah, you know.
great artistic training and faculty members who are good at what they do is about knowing how to, get someone to be themselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, because yeah, so doesn't surprise me. Okay, callback weekend.
And
So
yeah.
let's talk about well, what stood out to you about the whole callback weekend? What was the
Mm.
big takeaway or the big experience for you?
Yeah. Honestly, just the fact that like this this thing that you get to do with people in a room and just open up to each other, and that allowing you to bond in a day was crazy. Like I feel like I had such a strong bond with my group already. Like people were crying at the end of the day, and not just because like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen to us, but just like, wow, like I wish we could work together like this.
Hmm.
And it was really, honestly, that was very powerful, and it just made me very excited about going to drama school and just like have the group, and just like this power of talking about acting and theater, and that being this sort of source for you to connect on such a level in a day. I mean, it was an intense day. I'm not gonna lie, like
Yeah.
very intense, but I can just assume that every day is going to be very intense from now on. So yeah, I think that was very beautiful. And another takeaway that was like more technically, I don't know, interesting to me. There was a lot of things that you cannot prepare for, obviously. Like there were the pieces that you can again, and you had to show them. But then it was just classes, and there was a lot of improv. But that was very interesting to me, and maybe because I haven't took many classes before. Um, the acting, the voice class was also an improv, and that just sort of enabled you to open up to sounds that you never really knew that was in you because you never thought about it. It was just like you reacted and then you made a sound and you're like, wow, I can do that. And then I was like, aha, this is what drama school is like, to know that you can do things that you never thought that you could. And then you do need help from your group, from faculty, from this process of you being there to unlock it and to meet it. And then so many students were just talking about like after this, like third year students, they were like, I have more question about what acting is like. I'm going to graduate in a few days, and I cannot tell you more certainly what acting is, but I can tell you that I know how to teach myself about these questions. Like I know how to ask questions now. I know, like in this school, you're gonna learn how to teach yourself. And if you align with that, and if you think that's then this is the school for you. And honestly, I really resonated with that because I'm really scared of programs that say like, okay, after these years, this is it. So you're gonna be an actor, and then you don't even need to train. Like you're trained. Because to
Right.
me, what's so exciting about this journey is like, no, you read a play and then you change. Like and then you meet the character and then like you you're a different person, like, and to have this emphasized was very beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is beautiful. And I love that you surprised yourself
Mm,
with some of these exercises and these vocal things because yeah, it really is also the school watching you deal with those exercises. Does
mm,
Dorothy discover something, or is she kind of nervous about things, or is she kind of not really exploring freely? You're not auditioning for a role, right? You're auditioning for a training relationship.
yeah.
So do they see that you're able to take training?
Mm,
Do they see that you're able to like explore and discover right there
mm,
that's what these next 3 years are about is,
mm,
wow, I can expand and I'm expanding right here, right now.
mm,
So I'm glad
yeah.
that you had that experience, but they also probably had an experience watching you have that experience.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah, maybe.
know?
Yeah. And
You
I
were
found that important too. Oh, sorry. You were
I
saying
was just gonna
something.
say you were in it. You weren't trying to show, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel it. No.
exactly.
No.
But what were you gonna say?
Um, I and also like I don't know, it might be useful to someone. But in the interview, I talked about this. I mean, I think they do ask, like, do you have anything to say about the day? And then I said I said the things that I observed, and I don't know if this is good or bad. I'm just saying like I did this and I felt really good about saying it because then it also opened up a new conversation. Like, this was like the last question that they asked in the interview or something. And then I could have walked away, but then it just like sort of logged us back into the conversation, and it was really nice. So yeah, because I personally was very like, what are the things to say in the interview, like what's gonna happen, and at that time maybe it can be useful to someone, to maybe you can allow yourself to talk about what you experienced, or like have a
Absolutely.
question like, why did you like literally call out a teacher and be like, why did you do that exercise, like I didn't really get it, or like I don't know, like I'm interested, and then they could talk to you about it, I think.
No, I think that, yeah, you trusted yourself and you were honest, right? You felt
Mm,
also the space to do that. It's like they
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
created that type of environment and you responded to that. It's not like, you should just start talking about a
No,
bunch of
no,
stuff if they
yeah,
don't
yeah, no, I'm
really.
not. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for putting it
But I'm
in.
glad you did. I'm glad you did. It takes courage to do that too. Felt the need, or you had courage to talk and
Yeah,
share.
yeah. No, definitely. I felt like there was a space for that.
I I want to hear about the Zoom with them where they told you and invited you into the program. While you say that, I'm also going to look at the text you sent me on the day, and if you're okay with it, I want to share it. But
Yeah.
what happened um, when you got an invitation to a Zoom?
So I was very close to one of my professors in this journey. She studied directing at Juilliard back in the days, so she was somewhat familiar with like the MFA programs. And she's from the U.S. as well. So she was like with me, like she brought me chocolate every day, like expecting me to receive the rejection from them after the wait list. Like she was very on it. And then I got this email from Tamila saying like, do you want to hop on the Zoom link? Like I'm free between these times. So like if you're free, then let's talk. And I sent this to her, and she was like, get on it right now. It's good. And I honestly didn't know what to expect, but I sort of assumed if if they make the effort, like they probably don't. I don't know, but I was just like, maybe they don't want to see me being completely heartbroken if they say the new. I don't know how rejections are. I don't know how they do it, but I just maybe felt like maybe this could be actually a good sign. And then it was like she picked it was just Jamila, and she was like, welcome to class of 2027. And honestly, at that point I was so exhausted of waiting. I was numb. I was like, I mean, I was excited, but I couldn't feel because I was like, I felt everything for so many weeks. Like it was such a roller coaster that I was just like frozen in a way. And I obviously was, I mean, I smiled. I would assume so, but I really blacked it out. Like I was just
Oh
not
my gosh.
allowing myself to feel anything at this point, and I was just like, "Thank you so much," and we hang up, and then she was like, "Yeah, because it's a bit of it late in the process, you will have to like send out a lot of things to our team." So it was just a lot of paperwork right after, because I had to commit to it like immediately, but I kind of already did when she asked me if there's anything that I'm still waiting for, and I said like this is my first choice.
Right.
So it wasn't a question anymore of like, do you take it or not? Um, so yeah, it was very certain, and then I immediately sent my email to James Bundy saying yes, I thank you so much, and then yeah, and then I called my the professor after I called my mom. I called my professor, and and she was like, I told you, I was just waiting for you to tell me. Like I knew that this is it. And yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it was very nice. And then it took me time to then I couldn't sleep that night. I was walking around campus just
Eh,
like,
just like, oh my gosh, just
yeah, like what happened?
what? My whole
Exactly.
life
I felt
just
like a
changed.
zombie, to be honest. I was just like, I don't know.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, and honestly, I am very grateful for it, to be honest, because it's a very long journey to apply, and it's um, lot of questions, a lot of decisions you have to make, and it's also like this was something that also talked about that day, that when you get this offer, that you get accepted by a school, you kind of just like feel like you have to take it, and because you worked so much for it, you know, and but then you don't really know if this is what you wanted or not. Like you can't possibly know because you don't know what it's like. And so many people were just talking about it like this is a decision you can make, like you can say no if you wanted to. And honestly, when I had the weekend, I didn't tell you this, but I was very unsure for a second about not Yale. I was very sure about Yale, but I wasn't sure about me going from undergrad into grad right immediately. Especially that I'm a foreign student, especially that I have a family at home. I was just kind of like they said it to me at the panel, like you don't know who you are outside of academia. And yeah, I don't to be honest, but I just want to do the training. Like there, like I have been wanting to do it since second year. Like I just want to do it. And I knew I was very committed that I wanted to do the training, but I was like, am I ready? Am I really ready? And people were real, like students were really really real in that Q&A, and they were saying a lot of things about the school, which I appreciated so much. um so I was just like, I was not doubting if this was the place for me. I was doubting the timing, and I think that was the latest waitlist for, because then I got to experience what it's like when you don't know, like you weren't sure. Like I was scared if I got in, and I was scared if I didn't. You know,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. Maybe that sounds very stupid to someone listening to this video. Like,
Oh,
are
it's
you
your
crazy?
experience. You kind of had to
Yeah,
go through like the idea of like, wait, let me give myself a moment to actually pause
yeah,
and figure out if this is my next step.
yeah, exactly. Because I was just so blinded. Like, I want to do a training. I'm finishing undergrad. Like, I'm applying. I'm doing everything. I'm giving my best, and I'm going to the school right after, and it's just gonna make sense. But I never really gave myself the space to think about think about it. So yeah, then I thought about it. I had a lot of weeks to think about it, because then it was the wait list, and which was exactly like,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was a like, it was very reassuring that this is what I want. I want it so bad, and and I'm so lucky, and I still can't believe that I am really lucky. It's luck. It's
Yeah,
such a
I
luck.
mean,
So many things.
everyone, of course, of course. Luck is always a part of it. We
Yeah,
never know why or
you never
how
know.
we got,
Yeah,
but at the same time, you can't really control that, right? What you can
yeah,
control, you absolutely worked hard. You
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
really, really did everything you could,
yeah,
and then you just got to give the gift and leave it up to whatever happens,
exactly.
the artistic training gods. Well, this has been unbelievable. I'm looking at the text that you sent me. I was in the gym and you sent me a text. All I saw was the words, I got in. And I already had known that you were on the wait list. I know that we had
Yeah,
had that conversation about changing our mindset around the wait list. Um, do you want me to read what I sent you when you were wondering about the wait list situation, when I sort of shared my
yeah,
perspective?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
really
That was so.
probably good
Please
for
do,
everybody
because
to
it was
hear.
so useful.
You're like, oh, I'll let you know. We'll see. And I said, absolutely. There's certainly hope.
Mm,
Many of my classmates were waitlisted at first. Waitlist technically counts as an acceptance, giving that student two things: the possibility of actually attending if a spot opens up, and the ability to audition again, even if they've reached the maximum amount of submissions. There are definitely people who are accepted to Yale that have not committed. I can tell you for sure. I did know
uh,
that.
do you
So
know how many
I
times I
said,
read that?
I said,
I'm like, that was one back there.
so
Like, oh.
definitely, I put all caps, definitely communicate
Mm,
clearly with Yale
mm,
that you are excited and ready to commit if
mm.
and when a spot becomes available. Thumbs up. And then the next text I got from you was weeks later, capital, I got in. Um, and a lot of other fun stuff and GIFs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so this has been so cool to hear your story. I wish we could talk a lot longer.
Oh,
But wrapping it up for us, and you know this audience, this was who you were like. You've shared so much gold about preparing and auditioning and dealing with everything and revealing yourself and just being you, trusting yourself. It's all been so noteworthy. I could take notes for days. But like, how would you just crystallize the whole thing? Or what's one thing that you think people now who are looking ahead at auditioning need to consider or prioritize?
this could be one word or one thing. One
Yeah,
thing.
just one thing.
I guess.
Love the idea of one
I do have,
word. I don't
I
want to
do
do
don't
that.
know. I'm definitely not that genius. Just like say it in 2 words. Um, well, I think the biggest thing for me has to do with the monologues because I just really thought it was about finding the right pieces, meaning like the piece actually being well written, like good, unique, and special. So that was my mindset going in. And I just had to realize through the help of a lot of people, such as you, that it's like you perceiving a text in such way is going to make it the good text, like the
Mhm.
right text for you. Because I was like really looking for listening to these videos all the time, going to the section when they were talking about like which monologue they choose, because I was like, there must be these pieces that get people into school. You know what I mean? Like that's what I used to think that years earlier I was applying. And no, those were just very ordinary pieces that people loved and they connected to because of their own specific reasons. And that's very important. And that's gonna take a lot of pressure off of like I don't know. I don't know,
Absolutely,
but
absolutely.
that took a lot of pressure off me um, because I was like, oh, I don't have to find this fancy, beautiful, perfect piece that's just like, oh, this is an MFA material kind of thing. No, it's, and I remember my one of my pieces, you were like, it's not the most well written piece that I've ever heard, but you're having fun with it, and that's the point. And yeah, that's the point.
That is, you're not trying to audition for this role, or it's much more about you trying to use these monologues as a platform for you and who you are as an
Mm,
artist. And if
mm,
you connect with a piece, you should take that seriously. There is something to be said for higher quality writing, because good quality writing does allow you
yeah,
to
yeah,
work deeper and go further with it, have a longer rehearsal process and uncover layers.
yeah.
But your monologues were good as far as the writing, but it's such a great point. It's not about the monologue itself as the thing, it's about the relationship between you and
Yeah.
the monologue. And that's what you need to pay attention to. Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Thank
This has
you.
been so good, Dori. I hope we can talk again and maybe
Oh,
share
of
some other
course.
things about other aspects. I know this was a huge journey for you, and I acknowledge you.
Thank
Congratulations.
you so much. Thank you so much. Really.
Yes, you are welcome. And I'm sure we'll see you soon when you get to New Haven.
Yes. Thank you. Have a
You are
beautiful day.
welcome. All right, you too.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye. Thank you.